In this video, I will explain and share the 7 steps that I found in the Quran on how to live in a practical way in a repeated pattern, how to avoid things and how to live life when it comes to avoiding mistakes, and when making a mistakes, what to do to keep going in life to get the ideal outcome. So I call these the 7 steps. I will share with you the screen because I like to kind of explain things with visuals. So think about it like this: when it comes to life, there are the facts. The facts are birth, so someone got like you are alive, and death. Okay? And this is a timeline. In between, like those are fact. Everyone agrees on whatever what religion or what upbringing you got in. You know that there is life and death, birth and death. In between, there are stories. There are stories that we got from our birth. So, for example, if you are born in a Muslim family, if you're born in Christian family, if you're born in a different country, different culture, these are something that you got a story from your birth. And then as we grow up, we get another story. So let's call this is a birth story, right? And then as we grow up, there are stories that come to our life from environment, from people, what people told us. And when I say told, it doesn't have to be told as in saying, sometimes explicit told stories and implicit. So, for example, if someone um, let's say you went on a date and someone did not go and accept you for a second date without telling you that you're out of shape, but you kind of know that's the reason, that's called implicit. Sometimes explicit, where people will say to you, your family will say, is like, we will not love you if you don't get the exam passed or something like that, right? So these are stories that have been told to us. Okay. And then the third type is stories that we did. So those are the stories that we as a person. So as you live, you experience things in your life. So let's say you go and try a new food or a new country or try a specific type of relationship, and that story you will create based on the outcome of your input. So when you do something, you get an output, and that a story that you create based on what you did. And a collection of those three, what your birth story, what you've been told, and then things you've did, you create fourth type of story, which is the conclusion of that, which is a story you tell yourself, right? So, for example, let's say you were born in a family where they don't care about health and fitness and stuff like that, right? And then they told you that, whether implicit or explicit way, that love means feeding, like you have to eat a lot. And if I love you, I'm going to feed you a lot. Okay. And then you tried maybe to be healthy and then got rejected and making fun of you because you wanted to do this. What you tell yourself, your story become, oh, I am a person that don't I love food, or I don't care about health and fitness. And that story that has been created, and it's either getting you closer or away from the goal. So now I will keep death and birth in the same place because those are not changeable. Like you cannot um, um, defer or remove death. It's gonna happen. But these stories in the middle, it happened to us when it comes to our life. And these stories come. I will cover the things when it comes to like fitness and health because these are like important things in our life. Religion, spiritual belief, business and work and money, relationships. These are the things that we've been told stories, we've been birthed into stories, and we did some of them. So the closer to the truth is something that you've done and you got response. Yet is still doesn't mean or reflect reality. So let's say you went on 10 dates and on all these dates you got rejected because you believe you're out of shape. That doesn't mean you're unlovable. So do you see that? Like even though you've done something and the reaction was something, it doesn't mean it's the true truth. I just wanted to say that. So now you're saying it's like, okay, what are the 7 steps based on the Quran that you're talking about? So now we establish these are there are stories in the middle, and those stories will change based on every single individual. No one will be the same. But there are rules or principles from the Quran that I got that I found very helpful to establish when it comes to human nature in general. So no matter who you are, where you're born, these things will be applied to you. So let's write these things. So there is a principle in the Quran. It's called takathur. And if I want to take this in English, it means expansion. So we as a human, we are born with this need and want and desire to expand, to do more. And what happened is that's it's installed with the human nature. So when Adam was created, he wanted something more. That was why he was deceived or pushed by the devil to try something, which was the tree. These are stories, by the way. I'm just sharing with you the stories that I know. But what that told me is we have this idea of expansion, and it's mentioned in the Quran as takathur. So the idea of takathur is the desire to do more. Now, doing more could be good and it could be bad. We also are installed with this system the desire to do both. Like the same person can do something great and can do something bad. And it's really hard to distinguish, but we have this installed. So just put this in your mind that you have this system that is telling you that you need to do more. Something more. More food, more things, more children, more fun, um, even if like some people like when it comes to religion, more religion, right? More fitness. It sometimes even the good things can end up to be bad if it's overdone. So that idea of expansion, put it in your mind. Now, there is a second because I said there is good and bad, right? So what is good and bad? I want to be more specific from what the Quran says. We also have installed idea of once we want takathur, we want more, we either come to it from a place of shukr, which is in English gratitude, or kufr, which is denial, right? So once we establish that we want more, right? Now we have this idea of I'm either coming to more with I am grateful for what I have. I'm grateful. And the first gratitude, the first simple gratitude that we have to establish, because we said that we are birthed, we are born, and we will die. So the first gratitude, the first thing that we have to establish of shukr is to say and acknowledge that there is God who created us. So that's the kind of it's simple but it's not easy to establish. So the first principle of shukr is to establish and acknowledge that we are born and we are born through something that is this God that is the creator of us and everything else around us. So that is a shukr startup. Or we can start with a kufr, which is a denial that there is God or there is a creator. Now, by the way, even let's say someone who believe there is a creator, they believe there is a creator, and they believe in that idea. However, when they want to expand with their life and they want more kids or they want more money, and they come to it from a place of, I deny everything God gave me, from health, I can see, I can hear, and I just focus on takathur in money or in children or relationship and deny everything else. It could be applied the same concept because I denied what I've been given. So even though I said the first principle is acknowledgement and shukr and gratitude of me being alive, this can be applied in too many different layers based on the person. So someone who is really struggling in their finance and life and going through hard times, they have to find something to be grateful for. And they cannot just go into it from a place of like, I like everything, I'm not grateful to God, and I just want money. And this is where the kind of concept of where do you start your takathur? Because if you start your takathur from a place of kufr and denial and you don't acknowledge God, and this is what happened when it comes to like science sometimes and things like that, where people, and I went through these things, is like, I'm strong, I'm self-improvement, and I'm gonna do everything right, but I was coming from a place of ego. I'm coming from a place of denial of what I already have, and it works. To be honest, it works because it's like a, there is a lot of laws and physics. It works. You will get money. You will be fit. You will have the relationship, but it's hard. It's gonna be hard. It's kind of, you can feel it at some point. The person will collapse, if not in this life, as we established at the beginning, they will die at some point, and that death, there are stories about what's going to happen after death. So I'm just going to stop to here. Okay, so that's the second step. So understand that you are installed with the idea of takathur. You cannot ignore that. That's why sometimes when people who get into religion and they kind of, I went through that period too, where it's like, oh, I give up, I don't have to do anything, and I'm just, um, I give up expansion. And that is wrong, because that's why a lot of people kind of had this bad stigma and opinion about religious people, because there is a truth where they give up on expansion. And expansion basically mean becoming a better version of yourself, and that version of yourself hopefully to give and help other people in this life before death, because that's what we have this life. Okay, so the second step is, like I mentioned, are we coming from this to this takathur from a place of shukr, gratitude, or kufr? Because we were given, also we were installed both options in our system. Okay, third, so now let's say I did mention I am grateful, I did mention that I'm in a shukr state, right? Now the third state is called istighfar. It's basically forgiveness. Now you're asking, is like, forgiveness to what exactly? Forgiveness to just being you. Because think about it, if we believe the story that Adam was created and he had the installed system of expansion and he wanted to expand, and then he was pushed to do something wrong, right? But he was installed with that system. He immediately he immediately accept that idea, accept that I made a mistake and I want forgiveness to myself. So forgiveness can be because I told you at the beginning about the story you are born with, a story you are told, and the story you've done. So just you being born, you need to ask for forgiveness because you're part of the system of Adam. And I'm sure as a household, you were born in a house where they have systems and belief systems and things that may be right and may be wrong. And then you grew up and then you've heard things and you've done things and all these things. Is forgiveness whether something you intentionally did that is hurting yourself or hurting others, or sometimes something is unintentional you don't even know about. So asking for forgiveness is giving a space for yourself to empty yourself, right? And to get in new information that is closer and closer to the truth. Now, forgiveness is istighfar, is actually, I've heard this from somewhere. Basically, if we flip or change the letter of istighfar, is like istifragh. It's like imagine when you're sick and have food poisoning, what you do is you vomit, and that vomiting is emptying you from this bad toxins. That's the same thing when it comes to istighfar or forgiveness. If I feel grudge, if I feel hate, if I feel envy towards someone, or sometimes myself, guilt, shame, fear, all these things, negative feeling, having is forgiveness to myself, to my action, whether it's intentional or unintentional, or knowingly or no, not knowingly, is giving me a space where I empty myself so I'm ready for takathur. So I'm ready to get the new information, the new money, the new relationships, right? So if I get stuck in the past, if I get stuck in different, it's like if I have a story where it's like, oh, my family is like this, and this is what all I know about what religion is, and what God is, and what this is, and what that is, and I'm not letting myself to do istighfar the right way, which is forgiveness for sins or non-sins, activities and beliefs and things and thoughts that are getting me away, not closer to the takathur, which is the ultimate goal. So this is the third step. Like once you establish that you're grateful for things, now we ask for forgiveness. So I'm emptying myself. I'm emptying myself from things. The fourth step, okay? Now, after I emptied myself, I need to establish something very important, which is called tasbih. Tasbih is is basically, if I want to say it in English, is removing the bad opinion, right? Opinion from what? You will ask. Bad opinion about who you think God is, who you think you are, and who you think other people are. Like, we always have this bad opinion about what God is based on the stories, based on religion, based on my family, what they told me, what society told me, the movies, social media, so many inputs we have. So tasbih is basically when you ask for forgiveness for these negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, tasbih is like saying that these things, these bad things, are my fault and I'm the one who is thinking that way, and they are not what God is. So let me explain what is the difference. So based on the story that I know from the Quran about what happened is when Adam was created by God, the God asked the angels and everyone to prostrate, and when I say prostrate, it's like a respect for this creature that God created and honored, which was Adam. What happened is everyone did it and accept that fact, except Iblis or the devil. He said, no, I'm not gonna prostrate or respect someone that I am better than. So he kind of put himself, which is ego, which is a sin. We all do that. It's not a big deal. What's the big deal is he said that he told God that you made me to be arrogant. You made me not to prostrate. He is like, in our language, is like he was a victim. You know, when you do a mistake, and that's something that is also installed in human, is like when as a kid when they make a mistake or break a glass, they immediately cry and make it look like or feel like it's your fault, right? And we all do this, but the process of tasbih is like doing the opposite of that, is like acknowledge that what I did is wrong, acknowledge that it was my mistake and it's okay to do a mistake, but that is away and removed from God because he is the one, the perfect. There is not nothing wrong with him. It is me that I was doing, hurting myself or hurting my thoughts and things like that. So that's tasbih, is removing bad opinion. But after doing it with God is actually sometimes you need to do it with yourself, because sometimes we have bad opinion about who we are. And doing that internally is like, I need to clear up my thought about who I am, because we have these thoughts that came through stories and things we've been told or born with. And tasbih is basically clarifying after doing the istighfar, is removing these bad opinions from yourself, from God, and from everyone else, you know. And let me tell you something about this important. I used to be a trainer at a gym, and the some of the other trainers, they what they used to do, we had this like a session where we meet people for the first time. It's complimentary, and we kind of a consultation, right? So what they used to do, the other people, the trainers, is they look at who they are meeting before meeting them. And what that give them is like, oh, if they live in a nice house or in a nice neighborhood, that means they can afford and have the money to do the trainings, or they look at their work, stuff like that. I never do that. The reason because I feel every time I did this, where I have a pre-made opinion about the person I'm meeting, I'm not gonna be present. I'm not gonna be good, and I may have bad opinion about someone who I never know what they are. So it's sometimes it's better to remove these bad opinion and just exist in the moment and let things go. And I try to learn this skill because it's not easy to do. Okay, so now you emptied yourself, you've done tasbih. Now what? This is the step, islah. Islah is basically good deed, good deed, which means I am doing good to myself and others. So that means I need to do something that is islah, doing good. And this can be as simple as smiling to someone else. For yourself is sleeping well, respecting your body, respecting yourself, taking care of yourself. That's why these things are important. Islah is doing good things, right? And I think people have this idea of good things, like you need to create a new application and make it innovation and something crazy and save the earth. That is great. That is the expansion of a human. They want to do the takathur, as we mentioned at the beginning, but it will not be able to do that if you don't start with yourself. If you don't do good thing to yourself, and then step by step doing it to other people, doing it to your friends, to your mom, to your dad, to your wife, etc. Okay, so islah is doing the right things. Now here is the thing with islah, it comes in a package. It come Sometimes we think that we are doing the right thing, and it looks like we are doing the right thing, but it's not. And the only reason that it is not is if we forget the timeline that I told you about at the beginning, which is death. So, for example, exercising and working out and being healthy is great, is islah to yourself, right? But when it gets to a point where I am anti-aging myself and I'm anti-deathing and I will not die and I will live for 400 years in a way that is egocentric, not from a place of I'm just doing this for myself because I want islah and respect. That's why islah is a very thin line. Once it's overdone from a place of takathur and from a place of denial and from a place of ego, it become not good. And I think for me the test is comparing it with the timeline of death. If the thing I'm doing is kind of like forgetting that I'm gonna die, it's most likely it's egocentric or coming from a place of denial and kufr, not a place of gratitude and acknowledgement. So islah is very important, and it's required for us to do it for ourselves and others. It just has to be in a place where it comes with the belief that we will die. And it's not hard to believe that we will die. It's there, right? It just it is not easy to do because sometimes we like things like we have this, oh, I feel powerful, I feel strong, or I feel rich, or I feel famous, right? But I think for me, I put the test of, am I forgetting that I'm gonna die or not? When we all die, we will have this reminder in ourselves. So it's a thin line. It's like I don't want to give up and sleep and say I don't want to do anything because I'm gonna die, because that's stupid. But I also don't want to overdo it where places like, oh, I have my legacy and I'm like, so this is just my opinion of what islah is. Now, as I do islah, as I do good deeds, and I try at least to do good deeds, sometimes I do it the wrong way, sometimes I do it the right way. I have this rejection, I have this hardship, I have people making fun of me, I have things that is against me, right? Just like me making this video, I feel tension. It's not something natural for me. So what will hold me? What will keep my value system and base level solid without being shaky by inputs and by rejection or by loneliness or by not getting what I want from the Islah? Is something called salat. Salat is connection with God. So the connection with God. Now, of course, everyone has their own way and different establishment. I find it the easiest way to think about this is if I establish and I understand from the first step here, which is shukr, is understanding just by seeing around me, seeing that there is a sky, there is earth, there is me created. So whoever created me, whoever created this sky, whoever created this earth, I want to connect with that. I want to connect with me because I am created. So just by looking inside, just by like thinking and pondering on ourselves and on around what's around us is like the sky, the sun, all these things, we will acknowledge that there is a creator to these things. And once I do that, I want to establish connection. And that's what salat is. That's what people say prayer. Prayer is basically establishing connection. And now there are different ways to establish connection. One way to, like I said, to think and ponder and being grateful, seeing like, oh, I like the sun, I like whoever created this is so great because it's like it's amazing. We all have this food and water and everything coming from one source. Like I was the other day in Canada and I saw this like very tiny root of a tree. What do you call it? I don't know what it's called. It's like a seed. It's the seed of a tree. And I saw the seed, but I also saw the whole tree. One of them is 800 years old. And I looked at it, it's like, this is 800 years old item, like thing that has been living for 800 years, right? And this by itself can make people fire, can make them houses, that can make them flooring, and then can make them a lot of things. And coming from this seed, and it's so tall. And I was looking, it's like, oh my god, I like where we are as a society when it comes to like social media, AI, all these technologies. But when you think about it, like this tiny seed is like creating this tree, and we can do a lot of things from it. So just by thinking about these things, is this is establishing connection, is like remembrance, or sometimes is calling to, it's like, hey, I have these things in my life and I want the support of the the thing that created everything, right? So establishing connection can be in different ways. For Islamic way is the iqama, is like standing, and iqama is like I want to establish that, and then sujud and ruku'. There are three movements, right? But overall, I just want to like make it simple, is basically establishing connection. And connection, even when we do it with human, we speak and we listen and we think. So those are the three things. Like if you think about it, we speak, we first we think, we speak, we listen, we touch, right? Those are the things that when it comes to connection. So now when it comes to thinking about the creator, is seeing ourselves, seeing the environment, and thinking about things that happen in our life that are great or wise. Like there are a lot of things that is wisdom in it. When it comes to thinking also, is everything in our life is not accident. Everything is a system, and it's established by a creator who's very great. That's thinking. Now, speaking is when we call dua or prayer, right? Dua is like I speak to get someone's attention. I speak to you to get the attention. It's like I want your attention, even though you're always with me, but it's like I feel you're not, so I want your attention. Listening is reading, listening to voices. Sometimes we get signs and we get people talking to us, but sometimes listening for the Islamic way is the Quran. The Quran is like listening and seeing what God wants. If the story that I believe this is God's word. Now, everyone have different ideas about that, okay? So that's listening, right? So that's establishing connection through prayer, dhikr, remembering, thinking, speaking, dua, listening, which is the Quran. Okay. Seven step. I call it the discipline, right? And this is where it's the discipline to hold the nafs. We call it the nafs, which is what your body want to do. So what is the basic things that we want to do as a human? The body flesh want to eat, to gossip, okay, to have sex, right? Drink, stuff like that. So fasting and something called zakat, it's like doing the opposite of what you want, the natural you. So if you want to eat, you fast, which is not eat, specific time, that will give you this discipline and self control where it will help you to do the other things. So not stealing money, not cheating, not doing bad things and lying or gossiping. So it's like a practice that will in the future help you to avoid doing the wrong things. For that's fasting from food, drinking, stuff like that, sexual activities for a while. Zakat is the same thing, is giving away for what is yours. So think about it. People think of zakat as only like money, but sometimes it's like if you have money because it's easy to do, is giving it some to other people. Is naturally most people don't want to do that. So giving it away is like removing yourself from this dependency on money or food or sex or things like that. But that doesn't mean like you remove it from your life. It doesn't mean you remove sex or remove um, food or you remove money from your life. It's just removing the dependency by practicing on stopping and giving it. And sometimes giving time, giving energy, giving smile. Uh, These things are also zakat. It's not only money, right? So that's the 7 step for discipline, for living the Quranic way. And then you repeat this every single day, second, minute in our life. So just to recap, these are the 7 steps. Our natural way of living is we want takathur, we want to expand and do more. As we do it, we can go and start it from different angles, from a place of shukr, gratitude, or from a place of denial. And the first basic principle of shukr versus denial is gratitude by acknowledging there is a creator who created us, or denying that there is a creator who created us. Either way is fine. You just pick your path, and as you move, you will learn which one, if you are right or wrong, that's fine. Okay. Then once you establish that growth mindset, then it become I want to istighfar. I want to forgive myself, others, my family, the stories I was born, so I can receive new information. And as I forgive, I also do this tasbih, which is having a good opinion and removing every bad opinion from the creator and from yourself and from others, even if something happened that is perceived to be bad. And then we do islah, we do good deed to our best knowledge. Sometimes we do good deeds, but maybe they're not actually good. And how we said we kind of test that, we compare it with the timeline of death. Am I doing something from egocentric, as if I'm just forever, or I will know that I will die and this life is short as compared to what's coming after? The second step is as I do the Islah, I'm gonna go through some challenges and hardship, and I need patience. And the if I don't have the basics or the value system where I'm established, it's hard to do that. And how I do that is through establishing connection with the creator who created me, through thinking, speaking, and listening. Like I said, Quran, prayer, dua, stuff, dhikr. And finally, the discipline. Discipline the nafs and discipline ourselves through doing the opposite of what's the practices, like training the nafs by restricting food, drink, sex, and giving away what's ours, which what we think is ours, which is food, giving away some money, and giving away some time and energy to others. And those are the 7 steps that I found very helpful, that have been very helpful for me to kind of systemize and live with as a way of living in the Islamic way and what it's like. Because a lot of people know these names and know these things, but don't really practice it, or they don't know what exactly is. For me, I live these things and I try my best to improve in every single one. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. I'm just learning and I'm trying to share things that I learned with people online. Well, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Share with me if there's any topics or anything that you would like me to talk about in the next video, and I'll be happy to learn and share it with you. Thanks.